Okay. This is going to be like a little bit different than usual. Hello everyone, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome to also I should mention the first video of 2020, or at least the first one by me. I mean, someone might sneak in the next couple of days, we'll see. I will say, actually, I'll probably have a review card come in for this with all the information that I usually have with reviews, but I did get a copy of this from the reviewer. Some people like to know that. Yeah, as I said, played this a couple of times. So let's start up a new game and we'll get into the conversation about this.
Are you filled with feelings of self-doubt? Do you find yourself prone to minimizing massive dilemmas, or for allowing the smallest problems to get blown completely out of proportion? At the Pierce Institute, our patent-pending Somnosculpt technology provides safe and effective dream therapy while you rest in the comfort of our flagship clinic. Located right next to the secondary overflow parking lot at the University Medical Centre. Somnosculpt, we'll make your dreams come true.
Okay, so let's let the game actually load. I mean, the good news, I guess, about doing this is it's a lot easier for me to explain, you know, how stuff works, because the gameplay is very central to this. So, as you can see, WASD, mouse control, you know, kind of... I will say this game does feel kind of walking simulatory. You know, some people might be like, walking simulator? I kind of like walking simulators. Admittedly, I've seen some that I'm like, oh yeah, I can see why some people would dislike this. But generally, I like them. So, yeah, the context of this game is, you know, you're going through dream therapy, and that allows, ooh, look, perception is reality. That allows you to do the very cool stuff that is involved in this game. So look at this. Tiny little pawn. Ooh, look, a baby little thing. If you grab it, though, and you drop it on the other side of the room, boop, whoop, that's a lot bigger than I recall. You can do that again. You can make it really big. Whoa, far too big. What? And if you grab it and put it on, you know, the desk again, oh, a lot smaller. You can grab it from far away and kind of make it small. It's like, ooh, tiny little thing. So that's kind of... It's not the only mechanic, but it's definitely the main one that they trumpet a lot. Boop. So, that is kind of the main one.
Terms of service accepted. Congratulations on falling asleep. Welcome to Somnosculpt. Your progress may be monitored by qualified specialists.
I just realized I haven't put the 30-minute thing
adapt
on.
you to eyelids, our interactive, lucid induction dream state in which you retain full consciousness and control.
So we can rotate stuff, basic. So I played this game and I was really enthusiastic when I played it for the first time. I haven't even seen all this stuff. Ooh, I didn't know you could grab this. Boop. And I was very enthusiastic. But I played it again, and I kind of came to this realization, which is that this game, because I was originally like, oh my god, this is like, you know, the indie Portal. But then I kind of came to a realization that maybe that's a little bit presumptuous. So, you know, once again, very Portal-like. Ooh, I'd like to take, oh, no, it's got a, you know, what is it, a material... I don't remember what it's called from Portal, but it's got the equivalent of that where you can't take stuff through here. And the thing is, I kind of came to this realization that maybe this game isn't as great as I thought it was, because it's kind of easy. Now, that isn't to say that it isn't surprising, that isn't to say that it isn't very visually exciting, but because of the fact that you're kind of, you know, shrinking and growing stuff, like, they can't be like, you know, here's a fully, you know, decked out desk, you know, and everything. Like, you know, here's like 100 different physics objects that you can grab, because, you know, one, it would break the game in terms of processor, but it would also break the game in terms of, you know, you'd probably grab something that would, you know, leave you flipping out. I have managed to run into 2 bugs, but that's kind of rare. But, you know, you'll have stuff like this, for example, like, oh, I need something to weigh this thing down. If only I could grab it. If only I could, you know, get something. And what you might notice is if you go into that and then put your hand over it, oh, you can grab it. But how can I pull it? Oh, you know, like, it does a lot of stuff like that where it's like, it is screwing with your whole concept of perspective. And it is very cool. But the problem is, now that it's taught you that you can do that, now you know you can do it at any point in the entire game. So it's kind of already lost its charm a bit. You know, so for example, you see, oh, there's a door. Oh, how can I get up here? Oh, there's nothing to grab. Wait, what if I do this again? You know, like it's a cool concept. I don't want to suggest, you know, in a very like, oh, I'm a games critic kind of way, that this isn't very, you know, like, oh, that's very cool looking. The problem is that, you know, like, what can you do with this? You know, like, oh, whoa, I never thought.
You can move freely, interact with
Shut up.
surrounding objects, and listen to messages from your patient
Yes,
care
I get
team.
it. So,
Please note that I am the standard orientation protocol, and that my voice has
See, that's
been
very
explicitly
GLaDOS right
chosen
there.
to remind you that I am
Wait,
not
here
a
it is.
part of your patient care team.
I
I
do
do
not
not
care. You know, so for example, you know, another really cool moment is like, oh, why can't I click on this? And then you move forward and you see that it's just like a skewed like image that's been painted on. Like, I think it's very visually cool. The thing is that, you know, as exciting as it is, like, it kind of, the thing is, it's very cool. It's just that there's only so much that it can do with this, you know? So you drop the thing on the thing, woo. You know, a lot of the time it will be like, here is a switch, here is one thing that you can pick up. Or in this case, you know, here is a thing you need to go to, here is a thing that you can grab. So in this case, it's a bunch of cheese, so you just kind of boop. Oh, it's much bigger cheese. What a novel concept. Yeah, and it kind of feels like I think, I'm trying to think, what's the nicest way to put this? Like, it does a lot. Sorry, it does a lot with its concepts. You know, like, just the idea of like, it's a physics game that is entirely about the idea of perception as reality, and it does a lot with that. Like, you know,
During
you'll
eyelids,
have.
you will lose the
Shut
ability
up.
to awaken suddenly due to realizing that this is a dream. Evidence: I have already informed you that this is a dream. You did not wake up. Please complete the remaining orientation activities.
So, like, as we'll go through the levels, you'll see that there are new concepts that they're introducing. But the thing is, as soon as they've introduced the concept, you know, it kind of already loses, you know, what it has.
Should I understand?
Fucking, I've got enough with this bitch. Like, and now Discord, apparently. Let me just fucking turn that off. You know, like, it brings in cool ideas, but the problem is, there isn't that much that one can do before it, you know, kind of loses. You know, like, look at this. Like, this is pretty much the same room as the one that we were just, like, in, like, 2 ago. Like, we had one where there was a pawn and then there was a button. Now we've got, you know, here's a giant block and here's, like, a broken window through which we can see a button. You know, so it's, I mean, it's not bad, but it's just like, as enticing as an idea it was when I saw the trailer of like, oh, this is going to be such an interesting puzzle game. It is an interesting puzzle game. It's visually, you know,
All
it's something that I can't say I've seen before.
Should reflect a typical mental state.
Blah, blah,
if you
blah,
believe your
blah,
mental
blah,
state
blah,
was
blah.
compromised by Somnasculpt, please provide a comprehensive, rational explanation in your post-procedural survey. Completed surveys may be eligible for a gift card.
Where was I again? So yeah, like a lot of the time it's just kind of introducing concepts. Like the good puzzles are the ones that are introducing new concepts because it means that like what like you're kind of looking at this like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. But then you know that you can do that, and then you can't really do a lot with that anymore. Like, I mean, if you cast your mind back to the, you're stepping on a door, grab the block through the door and bring it in, this is essentially the reverse of that. You bring that up, drop it, and now it's in the next room, and now you can use it for this, which is cool. Yeah, like there's lots of cool stuff. Here's like a hallway where you can just kind of get caught in an infinite loop, which, I guess kind of teaches you that you can use like the exit things might help, which, let's just say there is one, like, here's the thing, I'm complaining about like, oh man, there are so many easy puzzles. There are some that are a bit too hard because they kind of bring in completely new concepts that haven't really been like discussed by the game. There's no tutorializing, it's just like, figure it out, eh? I should also mention, yeah, this is another cool puzzle because like all they have is an exit sign. But as soon as you see the exit sign, you're like, oh yeah, I've got to use the exit sign. So the idea is that I really need I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, this is probably not the best idea because like this is probably the most game that you should be just playing going like, oh my god, how they do that? And there's probably a lot of people that are like, what? Why aren't you indulging my, like I want someone to be going, oh my god. This is very cool. Like the puzzle designs are very cool. Like I'm not saying that this is a bad game. It's kind of more of a, I thought this was like the best game ever, and now I don't. Wait, why did that? Oh. Okay, whatever. It's still a very good game, and I think, as I said, I like walking sims. So like,
Please stand by for polite recognition on your completion of the Somnasculpt orientation. You did it.
yay.
To maximize the time allotted for your therapeutic journey, please do not delay in proceeding through the final doorway as indicated.
And this is where we kind of get to start breaking the game a little bit. So, yeah, I do think it is a very cool game. But I think in terms of like, if you're looking at it explicitly as a puzzle game, I can definitely see where there are issues. And I think it's definitely worth discussing that. So this is kind of a puzzle where essentially you have to just knock down one of the doors by like having this knock them over. There we go. And now we're kind of getting into the part where it's like, ooh, you're going off the script and everything. How very naughty, naughty. Also, I just realized this is the place that the main menu is. And there is actually this interesting kind of, I mean, interesting is probably a strong word, but there is definitely a narrative about, how you're essentially, getting stuck in this dream state, which is, it's interesting, but it is very much something that's just kind of like a little bit of, like it's in no way center stage. Like you can move stuff around and you can, like I can take like a little soda can and I can make it just giant. Like, we look at all the crazy stuff. Perception is reality, etc., etc. Man, they do a good job. Actually, now I think about it, of the sound design, probably. I don't know. But it is a cool idea. And we'll get into more of the cool ideas in a bit. But yeah, a lot of it is just like, we've introduced a new concept. That's very exciting. And then that's kind of all they can do. All they can do is just continue to use the new concepts. And that's kind of it, and like they have rooms like this, that are just like, that's trippy. It's very much a visual game. So, you know, if you saw the trailers and weren't really convinced, you're not going to be convinced by the gameplay, I don't think. And definitely not by the story, because the story's... It's not bad, but it's just... It's, you know... It's a frame around the portrait rather than the portrait itself. You know, like, whoa, I'm walking into the wall. Very cool. So in here the puzzle is this. See, that's the problem. Like, I mean, obviously I've played this before. I know immediately, like, oh, you have to grab the you know, exit sign. But if you're just walking around here, I mean, there's nothing else to do. There's no other doors that can be opened. You know, all you can do is, I mean, maybe you might be able to pull the fire alarms, because I basically only knew that you could pull fire alarms because I got stuck in a puzzle, and I was like, oh, maybe I need to pull the fire alarm to make this puzzle work. So, like, stuff like that. Like, that's just a cool moment, just playing a game and you just see that shit happen. It's just like, what the entire fuck, you know? It's magical. Like, I love that. Yeah, it's just, you know, if you, like me, are just like, oh, this is the next portal. Like, no, it's not. You know, portal, you could put, like, a portal on, you know, most of the walls, and it kind of made its own challenge that way. But this is, you know, this isn't that. But, you know, it deserves respect all in its own right. Oh, and now we can have the doctor talk to us again. Boop.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'd like to talk to you about being special. So special, in fact, that we have no idea where you are. But not to worry, we're working on it.
So, are you guys ready for very exciting, cool, visually arresting mechanic number 2? Because look at this. What? Let's just line that up. And boop. Now we've got a thing. That's cool. Like, it's cool. This game looks very cool. It's just, yeah. Yeah. But it's just not, like, perfect. I don't know. I think it's definitely worth a try. It's just, I don't know. I guess I had higher expectations for the puzzling, you know. Like, it feels a little bit more walking simulatory some of the time than puzzly. Which I don't hate, but I think, you know, I don't know. I mean, Valve, why don't you just make Portal 3? Put us out of our misery, eh? But I think, you know, in terms of independent games, the team on this one that I don't know... Wait. No, it wasn't Sandcastle or anything like that. That was something completely different. I will put the name of the studio, and I feel bad that I don't have it memorized off the top of my head. But yeah, to pull off a indie game like this, especially one that so easily could be, you know, fraught with bugs, is definitely something to commend.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce,
Blah blah blah.
and I'm just popping in to give you a
Oh,
quick
this is a cool
update on
moment.
where
See,
you
there's
are.
shit like this where you're just like,
We
what?
still don't know, but please keep moving forward, and hopefully you prefer frequent updates to being reminded that you are completely lost.
Okay. Yes, I would like it if you didn't remind me that I'm completely lost. See, just like, there's definitely stuff like this where you just like look at it and you're just like, what the actual shit? Like, that's so cool. Like, you just move that out of the way and now you've just got like a king-shaped doorway. It's like, what? But yeah, some of the time it feels a little bit too easy. In other cases, such as one coming up,
Hello,
it seems a
my
bit too
name is
hard.
Dr. Glenn Pierce, and we still can't find you. but you should now have access to a series of elevators that should trigger your subconscious to gradually wake you up. You should also find a variety of emergency exit signs that should lead you to them. Will all of this work? Absolutely.
So, as I said, some of the time it's a little bit too hard. So there's one example that we won't get to in this one called the East-West Hallway. That's what I'm going to call it. That if you played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it is ridiculous. Like, the idea that the developers thought that, you know, people would automatically understand what was going on with no information was a little bit crazy. And seemingly a lot of people didn't know what was going on. This is the other example. It's probably a little bit less, you know, vicious. But when I did my half-informed of this originally, I spent like a good 10 minutes walking around here. So here's the puzzle. There are 2 rooms. You're supposed to go through a doorway, which presumably used to be here. And you can't click and resize really anything. As I mentioned, this is where I got my obsession of like pulling all the fire alarms. Literally because in this game, you know, like they were talking about like, you need to look for emergency exits. So I thought, oh, that's an indication. I've got to like play with all the emergency stuff and pull all the fire alarms. And it's not. So, you see anything that you might be able to grab? I mean, this is kind of, I mean, I guess it's not a spoiler, it's a preview. But like, can you figure out where you have to go to get the thing? I'll reveal in a few seconds. And let me show you where it is. The moon. You have to pull the moon out. Now, I think this might have been in the previous version. Like, because it was previously, I think it was something like the Museum of Force Perspective or whatever. So, you know, some people who play it might know that. But you have to grab the moon. And I mean, like, not only is that kind of not something we've seen at all in this game, but, you know, I get it. I'm like, you know what, maybe that's reasonable. Maybe, like, you know, you're supposed to expect the unexpected. But also, on top of that, not only do you have to grab the moon, but you also have to grab it through the window. You know, if you're pointing at it here, and you're like, oh, I guess I can't grab the moon, it's literally just because it's behind glass. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. And I think it's kind of reasonable that it took ages. So you have to, yeah, pull the moon out of the sky, you know, make it whatever size, and you can press this to talk to Glenn Pierce again.
Dr. Glenn Pierce. In the event that this elevator does not wake you up, please don't interact with anything that strikes you as psychologically significant, as we will no longer have any way of controlling it. For example, if you see your parents, please punch them in the face as hard as you can and immediately run away.
So a lot of the time, yeah, you have to kind of find your way to this elevator, and that's kind of marking the end of the level. I guess for the next bit, I'll probably just try and like speed through to get kind of as far through the game to kind of give you a bit of a preview. But yeah, like I think it looks very good, and I think if, you know, it looking good and you being able to interact with it in a cool way is enough for you, that's totally awesome. But if you're here like being like, it's a puzzle game, I want a puzzle cerebral challenge, like, no. Except for, like, as I said, the 1 or 2 ones where it's just, it doesn't feel like a cerebral challenge, it's just hard.
This is an
It doesn't make
automated message
sense.
for all patients who attempted to use an alternate pathway to access the next phase of somnasculpt therapy, but who have become trapped in a dream state paradox instead. Your decisions imply a failure of orientation, which reflects negatively on the standard orientation protocol. You will rectify this failure immediately.
So here's another classic example of like why this game can be a bit too easy. Walk into a room, can't click on the X sign, can't click on the ropes. How are we going to get up to this? Maybe it's in here somewhere. Nope, no. Where could it be? Oh, the die. And then for like the next 4 levels, it's always like you just have to find a die and then use that to get up there. Yeah, and I mean, you know, I think it's kind of reasonable that, you know, if you're looking for a challenge, you might just be like, oh, that's a bit underwhelming that like all the answers are find the die and use that to climb up to get to the place, you know? So, pick up the die. Whoops. Yeah. But you know, every level plays with something
Professional
slightly
tip,
different,
the
so
average adult can only withstand 3 to 5 dreams per night. Once this threshold is eclipsed by entering more dreams, your mind will suffer an explosive mental overload, reorienting you for the emergency exit protocol. Please subject yourself to explosive mental overload.
okay. And see, now it subverts it again because now it's not actual dice, it's just a decal. Yeah, you know. Oh, let's play with the die. Hopefully the die are normal. What? So, you know, this one, you just wheat. Now you can use that as like a little step. Whoop. Didn't jump. There we go.
Please note that a reluctance to volunteer for the risks associated with explosive mental overload implies a misunderstanding of all other solutions, all of which are far more traumatic and likelier to result in catastrophe. I am not capable of suboptimal suggestions. Please exit this
Oh,
dream
isn't
as
it
soon as
great
possible.
that this is just a very normal die? As I said, I played this game like way too much. I know, like, you know, all the stuff that's happening. We can just boop, boop, boop. And then this one. Whoosh. Whee! Clonk. Okay. This way. So yeah, we've got like 5 minutes. So yeah, and a lot of, if this game is going to be worth your while, is kind of, do you like puzzles? Do you like walking simulators? You know, how much of this game needs to be a mental challenge versus just something that looks cool and, you know, has a cool way of interacting with the world. Yeah, there isn't much more I can say. I guess I will say, in terms of like the ending and the way it progresses.
My name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and despite touring the Waterfall Serenity Zone in the previous section you've just completed, you may still be experiencing feelings of worthlessness and self-doubt. Why do I feel like everything is going wrong, even when the sun is shining?
So yeah, this game kind of plays with different themes and different ideas and different, you know, perspective tricks. I don't know. I think it looks very cool. It's just, yeah, it's not challenging. And to some people, that's a deal breaker. To me, it isn't really. But I totally respect that, you know, some people might feel that way. Oh, yeah. You know, like, there's tons of, like, little things like this where it's just, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, like, here's a hallway, right? If you go left, you go, like, under a thing, and now here's a new hallway. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like this where it's just, like, I don't know why, like, that is the thing. And you got this where it's like, oh, look, it's saying diet, ha ha ha. You know, it's like, now it's kind of horror themed. It's like, yeah, it's just kind of switching out, like, interesting ideas, but just, like, ideas that aren't, like, super challenging. Just ones that kind of look cool. Oh, I think I remember how you're supposed to do this. So, yep. Go upstairs.
Hello. My name is Dr.
Well, I didn't click on it. Fuck
and
off.
I'd like to talk more about the feelings of worthlessness and self-doubt I mentioned before. You feel this way because you want the kind of happy life you see all around you. The kind you know everyone else is enjoying. And that's exactly why we're here to help.
So, in this one, it's kind of more about, you know, shadows and stuff. So, say, like, you can't see it this way because, you know, it's black, but on that background, you can see there's a thing that points over here, and that leads to a stairway.
Warning. You were advised to subject yourself to explosive mental overload by descending into additional dreams, but have now descended into a dream within a dream instead, disorienting yourself even further. You are responsible for failing to make this crucial distinction.
To see now, like, you know, all the shadowy areas kind of give way to, like, oh, this is where you need to go to kind of figure out where stuff is. It's more of a thing of, like, your ability to perceive stuff in the environment dictates how the environment works. So, like, in this one, you can't, you know, move this through, but if you make it big enough, you can have the light shining through that reveals this little box stairway thing. So yeah, interesting stuff. I think we're done. I think we're pretty much done, which is good. Oh no!
Did you know
Scary
that
knife.
unintentional multi-dream layering occurs in less than 1% of patients? This correlates strongly with the 99% of patients who are able to follow simple instructions from the standard orientation protocol.
Yay! Idea. Let's fire up an idea. Dun 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 dun. And we have reached the end of this level, and I think we're going to just stop there, because I mean, yeah, we've got a few minutes. So yeah, I don't know, it's complicated. It's by no means a perfect game, but you know, in a way, not unlike the game itself, it's all about perception. If the puzzles not being super meaty isn't an issue for you, then it won't be an issue for you. You know, it will just be like a cool game. But if that's something that's important to you and it's something that you expect from the game, then no, it's not going to be there. So anyway, thank you everyone for listening to this, to watching this. I very much recommend you go and check this out. This is Epic Store exclusive, which I know some people are a bit like about. So just keep that in mind. And I guess I'll put a note somewhere if it's on other consoles or whatever. But until then, this has been either 8-Bit's first video, or at least my first video for 8-Bit. For 2020. Looking forward to a great new year, and I'll talk to you all soon.